Welcome to Limitless with Abby Scholes. I hope that this podcast encourages you by sharing stories of the hardworking, innovative individuals that are involved within the agricultural industry. Ultimately, my prayer is that this podcast will be used to positively impact your life. This is Abby Scholes, and I hope that you enjoy this episode where I use my voice for his purpose. Now let's go meet our guests and show the world how we all can be limitless. I'm so happy you're here. Today has been kind of crazy. I'm recording this like one day before its launch, which is not like me, but it's been kind of a crazy week. And so, I was trying to come up with a topic of what to talk about today. There's a couple things, obviously, if you guys have been know that have been going on in my life, that have been following me on social media and stuff. So I'm going to talk about that today. And then I also asked you guys what you wanted to know and what you wanted to hear from. So I'm going to answer one of your questions today. And that was, how was your transition from junior to senior college? And so I'm going to kind of go in this phase of learning, loving, and remembering. So this is kind of phase one, learning. And my transition from junior to senior college was interesting. I moved out to Canyon in July and got all my stuff here. And then in August, I actually moved like myself out and started school and everything, and it was going well. And then about into September, like the middle part of September, my roommate and I found out we had toxic mold in our apartment. And so that was kind of one of those things that you can't really live with that. And so we got out of there as fast as we could. I luckily found another place to live. And then in November, my roommate decided to move out, which nothing bad, all good. But it just made another transition for me. And then my new roommate moved in December. So it was just kind of like a whole process of moving and adjusting and all these different things. And taking 18 hours of class is not as easy at a university as it is at junior college. I'm not saying that I wasn't challenged and I wasn't, pressed in junior college, because there's definitely a lot of hard work that goes into that. And I'm not saying that junior college is easier, because there's a lot of hard parts and they're different for very different reasons, I guess. That's probably not the right way to say that. But anyways, there's good and bad to both. And so when I was taking 18 hours, there was just a lot happening, a new school, trying to figure out life. And then I also, in the middle of it, decided, or actually this was kind of before I left, I decided I'm going to make new friends. I'm going to get outside my comfort zone. I had a lot of friends from NJC that were at WT. But I guess I was being kind of like selfish in the fact that I was like, I want to make a new friend group for myself, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out you can have more than one friend group, and that's okay. And you don't have to just exclude the people that have been there for the whole time. That was honestly really selfish, and something I wish I would have done differently is just look at that and be like, these people have been there for me through it all, and that's okay. I don't have to be ashamed that I've known them for the last 2 years. I don't have to be ashamed of this, that, and the other. And so anyways, the transition was interesting. Luckily, WT is a smaller school, so that made it really nice that I got to know all my professors really well, pretty fast, and they were also willing to work with me. I think the biggest advice that I have is when you transfer, you have to be willing just to put in the work and to get to know the place. If you have a really bad attitude and you're not willing to get involved and help out wherever, that'll make your transition a little harder. And so my advice, things that I did well, I think I tried to get involved and do all the things right away, which also came at a fault sometimes because then I was drowning. But on the other hand, you have to be intentional about who you're around. You have to be intentional about the people that are there for you from day one, and take care of those things. And so my transition was a little different than I was expecting. I thought it would just be a breeze. I thought, oh, I'm good at changing and I am good at this. Wrong. The Lord really showed me through it all that you have to be just diligent in what you do. I remember telling somebody that I felt like I was failing at life, and there was just so many things around me that were happening, kind of in that first few months of school. And there were so many people around me and involved in my life. And I said, do you know that feeling when it feels like you have so many people around you, but it feels like you have no one? And that's what I felt. And so if you're in that place, just take this as encouragement, as it's okay to feel like that sometimes. And I think as women, especially, we all go through that. And I know men can feel like that too. And so if that's happening to you, just really dig into what God is saying to you in that time and figure out, what's the reason for this season and why am I here? And kind of what is all of this about, because I think there's so much that he showed me and taught me through that season, even though it was really, really hard. And I also remember, like, for anybody that's going to college a long ways from home, you'll understand this, but I remember going and I had been here for a few weeks, and my brother was showing at State Fair and doing all the things, and I was missing the people I knew in Sterling, and it was really hard. And I just remember being like, gosh, I want to be here, but 8 hours away from home right now, that is not where I want to be. And so if you're in that place, like, just remind yourself that it's not forever. It's a really good place to be wherever you're at, if it is. And in my case, it was. I knew that I was in a good place. I just had to kind of get over the fact that I had to make some sacrifices in that. And so, anyways, that's a really long-winded answer of just be where you are, enjoy where you are, and it will all work out. Sometimes life is different than what you expected, and that's okay. It's definitely what I had to learn in that time. So, moving on to the next part of this podcast segment. This is so different than any way I've ever done it, but it's keeping me on track. Because today I don't have a guest to keep me on track. So here we are. I have shared with you guys on social media that Brandon, my boyfriend, we lost his mom on April 11th, and Chris was awesome. She was so vibrant and just loved everybody. She loved life. She loved her boys. And so it's been really interesting the last however many weeks, probably 2.5 weeks, just kind of learning how to do life without her in a sense, and also like learn how much she did for people. And we're learning very quickly how much she did. And, you know, when somebody's gone, you have to find a way to, you know, fill in the gap and stuff. And so we are really grateful for the life she lived and that she's no longer in pain. But it happened differently than we expected. And so I have some notes here because, you guys, I will get off topic. I will lose track of where I'm at. So this is to help me and to help save you guys time because I need to keep on track. So anyways, I don't want to say this is a regret, but something I wish I probably would have done is done a podcast with her, because that would have been like a perfect way to show like who she was and everything. And obviously I know like what's done is done, and there's no point in sitting back in the past and being like, oh, I wish, you know, so I'm not doing that. But I want to take this time to honor her and remember her for the life she lived. And even if you didn't know Chris, like I hope you can just sense how much she meant to all of us and how much the Lord meant to her. And so anyways, April 11th, I was in Laramie, Wyoming, for the Meat Animal Eval contest. Those of you that follow me on social media know that we've spent a lot of time preparing for this. And so we traveled up there. We'd spent about a week on the road. And Thursday, the contest was 3 days. So it was Thursday through Saturday. And so the first day, Thursday, was just market animal evaluation, whatever. So that contest didn't start till like 1 o'clock. And I was getting in the van at like 8 a.m. that morning, and Chris tried to call me, and I texted her and I said, hey, I have a contest today, like I'm not gonna be able to chat. Rookie mistake. I'm not saying that you know, you need to answer all the phone calls all the time, but definitely is hard looking back that I could have talked to her one more time, but that's okay. Anyways, so I went through the contest and everything, and right before I went in, we got a text from a family friend that said, hey, we just took Chris in the hospital, or last night we took her in the hospital. Here's what's going on. I'm not going to share all the details of that just because I want to like honor the family and everything through that. But yeah, just had some health complications. So then I get to the contest about 6 o'clock, and for some reason I was like, I just need to really call Brandon. I hadn't heard anything about how she was and whatever, and it was not super great. And so I was trying to figure out, you know, in those moments where you're like, I am here and I do not, it's not that I didn't want to be in Laramie, I just knew I needed to get to Grand Junction, and I was like, how am I going to do this? And so I ended up texting a really good friend that I worked for last summer, and I was like, hey, I am in Laramie and I need to get to Grand Junction by tonight. There's no flights. Can you help? Anyway, so she did some calling and ended up calling me back and was like, hey, there's a dually pickup. This really generous person is letting you drive to Laramie. So there was an awesome rancher and his family, Laramie, that lent me their pickup and allowed me just to take it to go to Grand Junction to be with family that night. And so that is a godsend. I will be forever grateful to their family for doing that for me, because that was just invaluable. that I was able to get there. But as I was driving, so the road from Laramie, Wyoming to Grand Junction, Colorado, if anybody's ever taken it, whatever way you take, there's not a lot of cell reception. And so I just took a lot of that time in between, when I had reception, I would call my mom and tell her that I was okay. And I would call Brandon to see how he was. And I was just worshiping and praying and just like pleading with God that I would make it in time to see her. And so at like 9:06, I just felt this like intense heaviness, like more than I had felt all night. And I just remember looking at the clock and it said 9:06, and I just in my head I said, Lord, don't tell me she's gone. And he said, she's with me. And so that was such a peaceful moment, but so hard at the same time. And as humans, like, we go into this gear of like, I don't know if I actually heard from God. I don't know if he said that to me. But at the same time, like, I just knew. And so I ended up calling one of her friends that was with her when she passed away. And I was like, what time did she go? And she said 9:06 or 9:07. And so that was just like confirmation from me, or for me, from the Lord and Chris, like, hey, it's going to be okay. She's with me. Like, life will go on. And so that was a really beautiful moment and something that I will cherish forever, that even though I wasn't able to be there when she went, that I was just able to have that one-on-one time with the Lord and really hear him amongst all the chaos that was happening. And so I am so grateful that that was able to happen when it did. So kind of some things that I wrote down. I have notes on my computer about this because I wanted to get them all right. 4 things I learned from Chris that I will hold me forever. Number 1 is just handle it. Chris, if you knew her, she was just like a go-getter and a get stuff done lady. And so she'd always say, just handle it. Just handle it. And sometimes we would all be like, oh my gosh. But seriously, sometimes I think in life we get so caught up in what's happening and what's going on. And for a lady that battled cancer for 7 years, she just handled it. I mean, she just did what she needed to do. She prayed about it. She did treatment and just got it over with. And so that's definitely something that I'm going to be working on more, is just, there's a time to grieve, and there's a time to be sad, and there's a time for everything. Obviously, like it says in the Bible, there's a time for everything under the sun. But there's also a time when you just need to put your big girl panties on and handle it and deal with it. And sometimes, hard things are going to have to be handled. And so you just got to do it. The next thing is your circumstances should not dictate your attitude. This one kind of goes with just handle it. But Chris, like I mentioned, she had some health issues for the last 7 years. But that never dictated how she was towards any of us. I've been lucky to be around her for the last 2.5 years since I've been with Brandon. And she was always so kind and fun, and she told you what she was thinking, but she just was joyful. And so even amongst all the hard things, even when we got diagnoses that we didn't want to, or even when she, wasn't feeling the best because of treatment, she always was happy and upbeat and was just like, yep, I'm good. We are getting through this, all things. And so that is something that is just invaluable to me about her, and that I will seriously never forget. Number 3, in all things, God is good. This also kind of goes, they all kind of work together, but she never let her circumstances dictate how she knew the character of God. She never wavered in that. She never was like, oh, well, since this is happening to me, God must be this, No, God is good even when life is not. And that was something that she firmly believed in and held on to, and just strongly emphasized in her life, I guess. It's just so true. I'm going to pull up her favorite verse that just kind of encompassed so much of what she embodied, I guess. Okay. Her favorite verse is Hebrews 11:1. And this has just been bringing me so much comfort and solace during this time of gosh, she knew her Jesus, and she knew where she was going, and she knew all these things. And so it says, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And above that, above that in the Bible app, it has faith and action. It kind of describes what the passage is about. And I think those two things, go hand in hand. She was confident in her Lord. She was confident in who God was. She was confident in who he had called her to be. And she was assured that even when she did not understand, and even when she did not see what was happening behind the scenes of what he was doing and why, that she knew her God was good. And so that's so good. And it's actually funny that I say the faith in action thing, because the pastor during her service said, it was actually a good friend of hers, said Chris was faith in action. She just knew it. She knew who God was. She knew who her Lord was. She knew how she should live. And then she acted on that. She did so many things to help her community and help those around her and make other people's lives better. And I think that's something that's so beautiful, and something that our world is missing today. Is not a lot of people will just be selfless and give of their time and of their resources, even when it may not be perfect for them. I'm sure there was times that she was serving people that she didn't feel good, but she didn't let that control what she did and how she lived her life for God. And number 4, surround yourself with godly and uplifting people. This is a big one. And I knew this is important, and I knew this was important long before she passed away, but it's become so much more apparent to me during this time. And so what I mean by this is that the Melnikoff family, I love it. They have a group of friends, kind of loosely known as the Village. And so it's just a bunch of families that get together and do life together, really. And they're all just really like family. And it's so beautiful. Like, even when it was hard, like, we all kind of leaned on each other and were there for each other. And I just think it's so important to have a group of people that are like-minded in faith, that can support you and pray for you. Even in my own life, like as a college student, it's just so important to have people that can speak truth in your life when it's hard, have people that can be a listening ear when it's hard, just that are able to be there for you. As elementary as that sounds, like, I have a group chat right now with 3 of my best friends, and I will literally just be like, hey guys, I need prayer for this. Like, please pray for me, and I know they will. And so I just think you all need somebody in your life, or a group of people in your life, that can support you and lean on you, and or you can lean on them, excuse me. It's just so crucial. And so that's been beautiful to see, is how her friends have supported each other through it, how they've honored her and loved her even after she was gone. I just thought that was so precious. And, at the memorial service on Friday, one of her best friends got up to read the obituary, but then they all stood behind her and supported her in reading that, because it was hard, and it was hard for all of us to do, just even the simplest things sometimes, let alone read an obituary of somebody you loved. And so, yeah, that just really sticks out to me, of things you need to do, of take it seriously who you're spending time with, I guess. It is so important, and it will be vital to how you respond to things in life, and how you're able to get through them, because the Lord is there for you and he pulls for you. But sometimes you physically need a group of people to stand behind you and pray for you and support you and push you in your faith, even when it gets really, really tough. And so those are kind of my 4 takeaways of how Chris impacted my life, and how I'll be remembering her by for the rest of my life, because she's definitely somebody that nobody will ever forget. Even if you only were in contact with her 1 or 2 times, she's just an exceptional lady and someone who touched so many lives. And so I hope that, even though this is kind of a shorter episode today, that you just feel encouraged, you feel loved. There's so much that God has for you, and I hope that you truly take that to heart and enjoy your life. I've been reminded over the last few weeks that life is so short, and we never know when our time is. But also, like, be the best person you can. It's hard sometimes, and I am not always the shining example of that. I've done a lot of things that I'm not extremely proud of, but life is so short, and so love the people around you. Do your best at all things, even when you don't want to. Finals are coming up, so finish the semester strong. And for those of you who are in college, enjoy that you're not in finals week. Just kidding. I know it's such a busy time with everybody, with kids' sports and just all the things happening. And so my prayer is that you would just feel encouraged and rejuvenated after listening to this, and that you would have a just blessing over your life. And so if you guys want to hear anything else, have any more questions, things like that, I'm going to try to do some solo episodes more frequently sometimes. I think it's good for me to just kind of chill and reflect and ponder on some things. And so if you have any more questions, please ask them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and leave a little Chris wherever you go. Thank you for listening to this episode of Limitless. Share this podcast with a friend, give us a follow on Instagram or Facebook, but most importantly, go use your God-given abilities to show the world how you can be limitless.